Welcome, She Vets It community. Today's episode is a powerhouse of insights on weight loss and year-round fitness. Did you know that the average American gains about 1 to 2 pounds during the winter holidays? But fear not, because we got an expert in the studio to guide us towards a healthier year-round lifestyle. Jay Maymi, an accomplished author, military parent, and fitness expert, will share his tips on making physical fitness a constant so we can stay ready, not just for the summer or winter, but for the long haul. Let's dive into the conversation with Jay Maymi. Jay Maymi, welcome to She Vets It. I'm so glad to have you here. This is not the first time you've been on She Vets It, and I'm so honored because of your expertise and all the things that you're doing. And you reached out a while back because there was some information you thought that would be helpful for not only myself, but women veterans. So I want to dive right in. Jay, what are your thoughts on the rising trend of medications like Ozempic for weight loss and how these impact women veterans? Any considerations to keep in mind?
You don't have to go very far today to look at the headlines, right? Headlines always dictate what consumers are demanding. And every other day, if not every day, you find headlines that are talking about weight loss shots, semaglutide, Wegovy, Ozempic, you name them. And not only are they talking about them from not so much a positive standpoint, they're talking about them from a negative standpoint. Even recently, Tucker Carlson had an entire episode on a guy who was a former pharmaceutical big shot from Big Pharma talking about Ozempic, and none of it was positive. None of it was really glorifying it at all. So yeah, I think today a lot of people are finding themselves, those that are struggling with weight management, weight loss, people who've gotten off track, maybe for a while they were doing fine, and for whatever reason, surgery, discouragement, depression, things that life can throw at you at times, they've got thrown off track. They've started down a road of being complacent with eating the wrong stuff, not working out, and things like that. And now they find themselves in a situation where they're maybe not obese, maybe not dealing with a heavy problematic weight loss control, but they've gained more pounds than they know they should. They know they could manage. And so now they're looking at these drug related alternatives to help manage some of that weight gain. And it's problematic. It's problematic because with, as in any prescription, Althea, most people know there is going to be a degree of side effects. And so you have to weigh the pros and cons. And most people today, because using those prescription drugs, they result in weight loss. There's no question about that. There's no two sides to that story. But it's the side effects that become problematic for a lot of people. So you're stuck in the middle. Do you take something that you know is going to help you lose weight and gain your degree of self-confidence back when you look in the mirror, even though there potentially could be serious side effects? Or do you just stay where you're at and deal with whatever discouragement you might be dealing with, or maybe take the long road, which is the good old-fashioned workout, proper nutrition, good supplements, which there's no substitute for that. That's the better way to go, the longer way to go, but the better way to go.
During the military, we tend to have this regular routine. And then when we get out, it's like you gain weight a lot faster than normal. Why is that?
That's a struggle with both men and women, right? I think you happen to find that a lot more in women. And that's just physiologically the way that women bodies are designed. They store more fat because they're designed to carry babies. And that's a whole other different answer. But it has to be factored in. So from a woman's standpoint, but again, I don't want to just leave guys out of this, but from a woman's standpoint, why do you gain weight again? There's a couple of things that happens here. Number one, you have to recognize one thing that I learned long time ago, is DNA plays a big factor in a person's body. In other words, you cannot oftentimes reprogram the wiring in your DNA. The way your DNA is programmed sometimes is going to evolve because that's the programming. What does that mean? It means if you are a child from a lineage of folks who are heavy, have struggled with weight, you're probably going to have that unless you are very diligent on your weight, what you eat, nutrition, working out, all that other stuff, right? The minute you stop doing that, your body says, oh, yeah, let me go back to what I'm supposed to be, what I'm programmed to be, because these DNA strands, they already say I'm going to be a heavier person. So you have to be even stronger and more diligent not to stop, not to give in, not to quit, not to let it get away from you, much more than someone like myself and like my brother. We already came to the table with the programming of being lean and have a high metabolism. I have a high metabolism. My wife has a low metabolism, a slow metabolism. So she doesn't need a whole lot to eat. Yes, she'll put on some weight. So she's really got to be diligent. Now, she comes from a lineage of good old Puerto Rican women, and they tend to put the weight on. They got the hips. So she's mindful of that. So is her cousins. I've seen her family. The entire lineage comes from the same programming, physically, DNA. They all have the tendency to put on the weight right around the hips. Okay. So some of them are mindful, some of them are not. But if you are someone that is coming from using drugs or drug shots or Ozempic or any one of these other prescription drugs that are out there, you will experience the weight loss for sure. If you're dieting or if you're exercising and you're staying pretty consistent with it, you will experience that for sure. But what happens when you get off it, and that's the problem, Althea, if your body already has a propensity because your DNA is dictating your body mass and your ability to store fat, then the minute you get off that thing, you're gonna supercharge weight gain. It just comes brainstorming right on, and you realize what the heck just happened. I lost all this weight these last 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months, and all of a sudden, in half the time, I put all the weight back in, then some. Because you have to be mindful that it's about lifestyle changes. And I think the mistake that a lot of people make is they look for the quick fixes, right? Now, you can find supplements and programs that allow you to incorporate and enhance a lifestyle change. There's nothing wrong with that. I do that in my own fitness world. I supplement my nutrition, but it's part of my lifestyle. There's a danger as when you rely 100% of your lifestyle, 100% of you become 100% reliant rather on a prescription drug or some kind of shot or some kind of quick fix that doesn't change your habits. It doesn't change the way you think. It doesn't allow you to develop new disciplines because you don't have to. You just pop this thing in or you inject this thing in your belly and all of a sudden it takes care of that. That's never going to be an answer. The answer is adjusting your habits, creating new disciplines, making it part of a lifestyle so that whether or not one day or the next day you do gain a few pounds, and that happens to everybody, you know that you can hit the reset button and get back on track. You can't do that if you're dependent and relying on quick fixes, which is what we're talking about here today.
I love that because, like you said, it's the DNA and it's lifestyle. So if you're not going to change your lifestyle, meaning like you're doing it today and to infinity, that's where you are going to continue to do, then it's not going to work. You're going to continuously be on this yo of up and down, if not probably worse than where you started. So whatever your original lifestyle, stick to it if you're not planning on changing, because it could actually make things worse.
Yeah, it can get you discouraged. Yeah, I agree. It can get you discouraged and depressed to an extent, far worse than before you started. So that's a very good point.
I heard someone say that diabetes doesn't run in your family just doesn't run.
That is true. That is true.
So DNA is one thing, but also I guess we can change that by, like you said, a lifestyle and moving. And so that has me thinking there's some adjustments that I need to make. And so the next question would be, there's been reported of a shortage of weight loss medication because there's patients that are diabetic that needs the medication, but now it's become so popular that everyone wants to jump on the bandwagon. Now those that actually medically need it it's not available. So now it may not even be available if you want it. So
Hmm.
how does that option for women veterans, what are the alternatives, approaches that you would recommend for such situation?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's a very good point. That is a problem right now. When the Ozempics were designed, they were designed for, and Wegovy, they were designed for people that were obese and having tremendous problems because of their obesity, high blood pressure, cholesterol, pre-diabetic, and so on. And then those that are type 2 diabetic. Those prescription shots were designed for them to help them because they really do have a physiological issue. Along the
Mhm.
way, Hollywood made glamorize these shots. When you had the celebrities come out and say, "Hey, I was taking these shots, and look how much weight I've lost," and so obviously the media ran with that, big pharma ran with that, consumers ran with that, and now you have in a very short amount of time, what you have is a dilemma where the average person is getting a prescription from their doctor because they want to lose weight, and here they are now taking away from those who really need it so they can use it for weight loss. That's a problem, which is what we're facing now. Those pharmaceutical companies are so back ordered that now those that really need it are looking around and wondering, what am I going to do? So that's why insurance companies now are starting to decline covering those drug shots unless you are type 2 diabetic. So the doctors can't prescribe it, and they could prescribe it, but you're going to have to pay out of pocket for it. That's happening in multiple states right now because they realize those that need it should be the ones that should be getting it, right? So
Mhm.
now that leaves a huge gap. What does a person do who is used to taking these shots in order to have this accelerated weight loss? They're either going to pony up more money from out of pocket, or they're going to have to figure out alternatives to still get the same results, but without relying, again, as I said earlier, relying on drugs. So what can someone do? There's three things they can do. They have to research. I'm a big believer that if you are serious and intentional about lifestyle changes and about your health, and a lot of people, they like to talk, but they don't walk the walk, right? If you're serious about doing that because it matters to you, it matters to your family, it matters to your children, if you are looking to be around for a long time and at least be able to enjoy being with your kids and your grandkids and not struggle because your knees hurt, your back hurt, everything hurts because you're carrying too much weight, then you've got to do the research. What's out there that I can get similar results where I'll have to do a little bit of work in the research, and also I'll have to do a little bit more work in my discipline in what comes in my mouth. I have to do the research. I have to do the research and find out what is intermittent fasting. What is intermittent fasting and how does that work and how can I incorporate that in my life? There is white papers written, there is peer-reviewed research written that intermittent fasting helps with weight management. There is no two sides to that story. The other thing you have to recognize is what are the foods that allow you naturally to burn calories. There's actually foods out there that you can eat, vegetables and certain other foods that work well with your gut. They also, because of the way they're designed, the vegetables, the way they are designed, in order for your body to process them, your body has to increase heat, internal heat, to break down those foods, which creates an increase in calories being burned internally. And then you have to realize that our bodies automatically produce a hormone called GLP-1. It's a hormone that helps regulate appetite, glucose. It's already in our system. When we were designed out there, we were designed to be a well-oiled machine, already with the ability to find ways to help continue to heal ourselves if we do the right things. That GLP-1 hormone, it's already in us. What are the supplements that are out there that can help that GLP hormone do what it's supposed to do, which it helps avoid the cravings and reduce the sugar cravings and the appetite and the food noise, thinking about food all the time. It takes homework to be able to still get the same results you want so that you're not relying on a shortage of drugs to put you in a place of panic where now it's reversing everything that you've accomplished, even though it's been through the drugs, it's reversed, and now you're discouraged and depressed and anxious and almost like jonesing for the availability of these drugs to come back. There are alternatives. You just have to know where they are and and how to get your hands on them.
That was a great explanation. I want to ask next, in your advocacy work, have you noticed specific barriers women veterans face in seeking weight loss solutions, or just women in general? And how can these challenges be addressed?
The two biggest areas, access and support. Whenever you're trying to make any change, when you don't have full, complete, transparent disclosure of information, number one, it makes you skeptical. Whenever you do find something, you become skeptical. And skeptical people tend not to make decisions. I've learned that in my career as an entrepreneur, whether it's in health, finances, or whatever. People that are skeptical tend not to make decisions, or they make decisions with a sense of hesitancy where they don't fully commit to it. And neither one of those is good. But can you blame them? If the information is sketchy, it's not transparent, there's no full disclosure, is glamorized, then when you do pursue that information, it may not be number one, what you need. It may not be what's right for you. And you still may not decide to do it because it's not fully understandable to you. So access to clear, concise, comprehensive information, I think, is a challenge that women face. My wife, when she does throughout the years, we've been married almost 20 years now, and I've seen her with her weight. Okay, now thankfully she's tall. She used to model, so she can get away with the pounds because she's tall. She's 5'11". But in her journey, trying to find information, even online, she gets so frustrated because this person says this, person says that product says this. You watch 10 different shows, 10 different articles, 10 different videos, you get 10 different opinions, 10 different points of view. And that's if you could find good resources that are reputable. So that's a challenge. The second challenge, I believe, is also support and community. And I'm going to say this in a way that I can only say it. I shoot straight from the hip. Okay. I think this also is the same thing for men, but I think more for women. Women are very protective about their health journeys, about their weight loss journeys. I think they may share it with one other person, but I think if they are in a place where they now are struggling with weight management or looking the way they want to look, I think there's a sense of hesitancy to share that with others in a way where the others can provide support to them. So it really becomes everyone's on their own island as opposed to coming together on one and supporting each other. As a personal trainer, which I was for a very long time, it was rare that I would hear women that I've trained often say that, hey, me and my girlfriends got together and we all talked about how can we help encourage each other lose weight. And I think that was something that they didn't even want to get into. So now you are trying to run this marathon or you're trying to experience this journey on your own when everybody knows that the best way to experience a journey is when you have accountability, support, and community. If you're not the only one on that journey, you tend to stay on it because you look around and say, oh, you in it too? Oh, you in it? Let's do it together. And you come together as a unit with single-minded mission, and you realize we can all do this together. Now I'll lift you up if you get down, and if you get and support each other in a way that they can move that much faster because they know they got each other's back in terms of support. I think those two areas there makes a huge difference for any woman trying to do something where at the end of the day, she feels very good about what she's done and she's excited and happy about her health, her wellness, and the way that she looks when she looks in the mirror.
I love that. And I do approve that message because when I was on my journey of walking more and doing things, I did it with a couple of people. And the thing is, if you're not disciplined, it works well because if you have someone who's disciplined than you, or you're probably more disciplined than them, then what happens when they don't feel like getting up? You're calling them. You're like, hey, we're going to get on that track today. Remember, we get up every day at 7. I want to see you there. So when each other is having bad days, you are able to motivate each other to move. And then once you get out there, you're like, Oh, I'm so glad I did this. I feel great. And especially the earlier you do it in the morning, to me is the
Hmm.
better because it feels like my day is a lot longer. You think it would be shorter, but for me, it feels like my day is a lot longer. When I start early, I feel better when I work out or do something physical early in the morning. Yes, I love that answer. Accountability and lifestyle. How can women veterans transition from a structured military fitness routine to an individualized approach?
Now, one of the things that I'm very familiar with is military discipline military routines. I'm familiar with that. And I have the same conversations with my son, who's a Marine, and he got out about a year ago. And he himself has admitted, I've let myself go, Dad. I need to get back in there. And now, the further away he's gotten from the routine, the harder it is to get back in it. And that's the struggle for everybody, right? So, one of the things that I've said to him recently, and he's always seen Dad in the gym, Dad working out. I mean, he's never seen Dad not fit. So he understands the value of staying in shape. He's just forgotten the disciplines that he was trained. He's forgotten the habits that were good ones, getting up early and getting to the gym, doing PT and all that other stuff. So I said to him, look, you don't have a struggle getting up in the morning to get it done because you did it for over 4 years. What you're lacking right now is the inspiration to do it, the knowledge of what works, what doesn't work in terms of the actual exercise, even if all you did was go back and do the push-ups and the calisthenics. And that's a good way to get back into the groove and develop from there. So one of the things I would encourage women to consider is if you did it once, you could do it again. If you served for 4 years minimum and you got up and did PT just about every day, that's in your bloodstream. That your brain is already wired and your body is already wired. Your body expects that already. It's not abandoning ship on that. What you've got to figure out is your why, your personal why to get back on track and do what you know you could do. See, if you've never experienced that, my daughter, she's 25 years old and she's not much into fitness. She's got some weights that she bought and they're about as shiny today as they were 2 years ago when she got them out of the box. Shiny and dusty. But she just never had the discipline, the consistency of a routine. So she's got to develop that first, which is tough. And then you got to add on the motivation. So when you've got those two things as your handicap, it's a tough call, right? Now you could do it, but it's tougher. But when you've been in a position that you already know what it is to get up in the morning and to push yourself, that's no longer an issue. What you need to find out is why I want to do it again, why it matters, why is it important, what are the repercussions if I don't, how much is this going to cost me if I don't get back on track, because there's a price you're going to pay. You could pay a little price now and get up and get back on it, or you can pay a whole larger price later when it may be a larger price than you can afford to pay, a larger price than you want to pay. So do it now while you can. The price is a small price because there's a bigger cost down the road if you don't do today what you need to do. So don't worry about what I'm going to do. Just worry about why I'm going to do it. The what will come along. It'll resurface. Your brain's going to remember. Your muscle memory will come back. And before you know it, your body will shake off that dust and you'll be back on track doing the things that you were doing that helped you get into that great shape you were when you were serving.
I heard someone say, what you do in your 40s determine what happens your body in your 50s. So if you're exercising today, it's going to determine how physically fit you are in your 50s. It's about lifestyle. Yes, you may live to your 100 or live to your 90, but what quality of life do you have? One of the whys is making sure that you can sustain the quality of life for as long as possible.
You hit the nail on the head, and that reminds me of something that I think is worth sharing, because I've said this to folks many times out there, not just in fitness, but in many areas, many capacities. And the work that I do, I help people thrive in different areas of life. But financial services has been one of those areas. Health and wellness has been another. But in financial services and health and wealth, I always tell people that there's an older version of you that is out there, that exists. There's an older version of you that is hoping that the younger version of you is making good decisions. Because one day you will meet that older version of you. 20, 30 years from now, you're going to meet that older version of you, God willing. And you're going to have an answer. You're going to have to come up with some kind of answer. You're going to have to come up with some reason to the older version of you why you're broke, busted, and disgusted, why you are physically busted, financially broke, and so on. You better have a good answer, because here's one thing, God willing, the 20 and 30 years are going to come. Unless for some reason your life ends shorter than that, that's okay. But I already know that there's a 70, 80, hopefully 90-year-old version of Jay Maymi that I'm going to meet one day. And I'm going to have to give an account to that dude as to why I arrived miserable, sad, depressed, discouraged, all these things, when ahead of time I could have done something about it. Or I can arrive there and I can get a pat on the back and have him say, you did a good job, boy. Same thing's going to happen for you. 20, 30 years from now, you're going to meet the older version of you. You're either going to get a pat on the back, or you're going to get a look that say, you had all this time and you did what? This is the best you did with the last 20, 30 years? That's not a conversation you ever want to have when you have it with yourself sometime in the future.
That was powerful. Really, like it really actually is making me think, oh my gosh, who do I want to meet in my 70s, my 80s, in my 90s, if God willing, whatever that is. The choices, like you said, the choices we make today determines our future. Wow, that is powerful. When you talk about that, it's really a mindset that you have to develop to get to that place, to be that healthy person, the person that will eventually be wealthy. If you develop the right mindset, that healthy person that you will meet down the road in your 70s or 80s or 60s or whatever the case is really changing your mindset today. Finding out what your why is and having the discipline to make the right choices. And when you're willing to be consistent and show up for yourself, we show up for everybody else, but we have to be willing to show up for ourselves too and take care of this temple, because if not you, then who else will? Yes, thank you for that. That's something that I feel like you have to meditate, meeting yourself down the road. I like that. So let me see. So I think you pretty much covered a lot so far. What are some things that we can do now, women veterans or women in general, whether they're male or female? What can we do now? What are some steps if we're off track right now, especially in our weight loss journey, because we lost our roots after the military? What are some of your tips or lessons learned?
I think what's important is once you arrive at a decision that you're going to do something, right? Arriving at a decision that you're going to do something is first and foremost, but it's not the be all and end all unless you put a deadline to that decision. What's the deadline to that? In other words, okay, Jay, I hear you. This has been a great episode. You got me thinking. I'm going to do something. I don't want to meet the older person and have an account to give for. I don't want to let that person down. So I'm making a decision to do something. Okay, so let's talk about this decision then. What are the goals that this decision is forcing you to create for yourself? Goals meaning, how many times am I going to work out during the week? How much weight do I want to lose by 30, 60, 90 days? By when do I want to look like what? I'm giving myself 6 months to do this, that, and the other. Lose 30 pounds, get my body mass index down, start feeling good about myself, start wearing those sexy dresses or those nice shirts, right? By 6 months from now. Because if you don't give your mind a deadline, it's going to wander. And it's going to think, I got time. You know what? It's the holidays. I'll start after the holidays. I'll start after my birthday. And here you go, another month, 2, 3 months, another year go by. And you still pushing it down the road. You still kicking that can down the road. The brain is very deceptive. Okay. The heart is very deceitful. It'll convince you to believe you're doing better than you really are. Because none of us wants to think that we are in a bad place. If you ask somebody, how you doing? I'm doing great. How you doing, brother? I'm doing great. Things are well. No, they're not. It's written all over your face. But we can deceive ourselves very quickly. But you can't deceive receive a deadline. A deadline says by this date, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. So you make a decision, create a deadline, and what are those goals along the way that you're expecting to achieve by the time you get to the deadline? That's first and foremost. The rest of it is researching the information. Get the consultation. Talk to the people who can lead you. Get a mentor. Don't try to go it on your own. If you don't know anything, go find somebody who knows something, because that little something may be what you need to get things moving. When I don't know something, and there's a lot of things I don't know, especially with some technology stuff, I try to find somebody. They don't have to be a guru, but if they know more than me, I'll listen to them. And then when I get out of from them what I need, I'll go to the next person. You got to do the same. I'm available. Anybody can reach out to me, and I can give them what to do here and there. I can give them resources. I can lead them in the right direction. But ultimately, you got to pull the trigger.
Good information. You mentioned earlier about foods that actually will burn fat, the natural way. But then there's also alternative vitamins or natural supplements that will help you, along with lifestyle change, that of exercising that can help lose weight. What are the supplements that you have found or you've heard of that are out there that could be helpful for veterans?
That's a great question, because I have always researched stuff. I'm just an enthusiast. And when I was 13 years old, I was taking Joe Weider, and anyone who's my age Joe Weider, Muscle Fitness Magazine. They came out with the first milk and egg protein. And I was taking that stuff when I was 13 years old, come to find out, because it had milk in it, or rather on the label, it said you make it with milk. I remember, I'll never forget, I mixed it with milk. And Althea, when I would go from school to the gym, I went to school in the Bronx. The gym was in Manhattan where I lived. It's about an hour train ride, multiple stops. And that's when I found out, when I took that milk and egg protein with milk, when I left the high school at about 3 o'clock, get on that train to go to Manhattan to go to the gym. That's when I found out I was lactose intolerant. It's not the time and place you want to find out when you're lactose intolerant, when you're on the train for an hour. I'm telling you, you could just imagine the rest. It was horrible to find out at that time that Jay Maymi was lactose intolerant. But that forced me to read and study and research supplements, because I knew that I wanted to live a life of wellness and health. So I've always researched the latest and what's going on out there in the supplement world. And so when I became aware of what's happening with the Ozempic, I said, there's got to be something else out there that helps people. And I dove into it. And as a result of that, on my own radio show, I had on a gentleman who runs a very successful, co-founder, very successful company from the 1970s right here in Dallas. And I had him on the show because I had heard buzz that he was introducing to the marketplace an alternative that was vegan-based, plant-based, natural, scientifically designed. And those are words that piqued my interest, because I believe in all that stuff. The safe alternative, which is what we're talking about here, right? So I knew that there would be a demand for something like that once people got more informed about the Ozempic and Wegovy and the drug shots and how that could be problematic with long-term effects. I said there's got to be a place for something natural that's alternative. And since I do believe in that route of nutrition, as we're talking about here, as a supplement to changing lifestyle, that's when I had him on the show. And I got to be honest with you, that gentleman on that particular episode was, after being on the air for 3.5 years, it was my highest rated broadcast. I'd never thought that weight loss and alternatives to weight loss drug shots would be a hot topic. Boy, was I wrong. It's been one of my biggest broadcasts, my highest rated broadcast. Even when I've had Bill O'Reilly on the show and NFL Super Bowl champions on the show and some really heavy hitters on the show, this broadcast was the highest. I think there's a huge demand for people to learn about, hey, what can I do that's safe? And that's why that particular broadcast hit it out of the park.
There was a guest that came on recently, And she shared about routine. And when you don't have a routine, it impacts your hormones. What are your thoughts about that?
It's true because you create muscle memory. So, for
Mhm.
example, I've done thousands of bicep curls in my lifetime. So the minute I grab that bar and I squeeze,
Mhm.
guess what the bicep muscles says? And I'm proverbially, and just thinking here in a proverbial way. The biceps say, "Oh, okay, we're getting ready to work out now. We're getting ready to hit the bicep. Get ready, hormone. Get ready, growth hormone. Get ready, protein. We're going for it." And the minute I do one rep, flush with blood, veins, vascularity, the muscle says, "Oh yeah, I know what this is. Come on," right? It's a routine. The muscle remembers I got to trigger enzymes, I got to trigger growth hormone, I got to get the protein catalyst working now. So there's a routine that your body gets used to, and as a result, it knows what to go into automatically because it's been there before. Now, if I'm working out I'm doing my biceps every 6 months. The body says, "What's this again?" And it doesn't remember. So it may not react. It may not release what I wanted to release in order for that muscle to grow. It may not repair fast enough because it's an infrequent exercise. It's not part of my daily routine. So the woman who you heard speak that wisdom is absolutely correct.
Routine is powerful. Like it's even more important on a deeper level on how our bodies recover. You're doing something you don't normally do, and then all of a sudden you pull a muscle because your body's wait, we don't know what you're doing. Sit
Right,
down.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Get back in that car.
Stay on the couch. We don't work out.
Yeah,
We don't walk. So I
yeah,
love
yeah.
I wanted to mention that because that was something I never thought about how exercise can actually control our hormones. And I never thought about that. Other than I want to thank you so much for just being here. You've just shared so much information. I don't know about the listeners, but I know for me, you've really had me think about what my future self is going to say to me for what I did today. So I'm definitely going to keep that in mind.
Well, I'm
So
glad.
thank you.
I'm happy to be here. Oh, absolutely. I'm happy and thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. And as always, you are always welcome back on She Vets It anytime. And there you have it, our incredible journey into sustaining a military mindset for year-round fitness. Jay Maymi has not only enlightened us on the importance of making physical fitness a lifestyle, but also provided actionable tips for a healthier future. Remember, staying ready is a mindset that pays dividends for our well-being today and decades from now. Thank you, Jay Maymi, for this transformative conversation. Stay tuned for more empowering discussions on She Vets It. Until next time, stay ready, stay healthy. I'm Althea signing off.